Hello again, everybody. Harry Boxer, the technical trader, techtrader.com. It's September the 18th, and it's Tuesday. Well, an interesting day on Wall Street. They snapped it back. It was a turnaround Tuesday. It wasn't very impressive technically, but I'll take it. Many stocks we followed did well. The marijuana stocks going bonkers. You take a look at Tilray, you won't believe it. But let's start with alphabetically. We'll get to Tilray later. ACBFF, well, did very well with this stock back here when it broke out of the wedge and ran up. And currently, after the pop and pullback, I gave you another swing. It subsequently went from about 5 3/4 to 8 1/2, and it still looks like it has more to go, somewhere in that 9-10 zone, and maybe even if it ramps up to 12 1/2 or more, but we'll see. Right now, this is a very promising pattern. Look at the heavy volume in this sucker in the last 2 days. The biggest volume in history as marijuana stocks ramp up. VHC was put out as a swing today. This is formerly Valiant. I just love the long-term chart. It's coming out of a consolidation which lasted like 3-4 months, which it did there and there. Those resulted in that kind of move and that kind of a move, and I'm expecting that kind of a move. I think it gets to 32, 35, 37, 8, something like that. We shall see. Let's, anticipating a bit perhaps, I think it's going to have to get up to 24 3/4, 25, and there's a big gap there at 25.50. So let's see what happens in the next few days, whether we get any follow through. Traded a nice 8.7 million shares today as it moved up $1.26 or 5.6%. So let's see if there's a follow through. CANN, yet another marijuana stock, General Cannabis, moving back up towards resistance. It was up 13.7% today on $1.7 million. That's good volume for that stock. One of the biggest we've seen since April when it was ramping. If it does get that kind of volume, you may start to see the stock at 5 3/4 and at 7 3/4. Those would be targets going forward if marijuana stocks rally for another few days. CATS, Cannabis, broke out of the base, popped a wedge, and then it ramped. Now, right now it's up near multi-year highs, but I love this long-term base pattern. And it looks like it's coming through, and it looks like it's ramping up. Might be a swing, but I'll tell you something, because of the volatility in this stock, this might, and it's 10% each little bar, this could very well explode first into the 20 range, and then maybe even the high 20s, low 30s at some point. Keep an eye on this one, extremely volatile, and it might run. CBDS, yet another cannabis stock, Cannabis sativa, after a long downtrend, which saw it ramp up to 9 3/4 and it gets slam dunked all the way down to $2 or less. Exploded with a wedge, the moving averages crossed over. How often you hear me say that's the ideal buying point. There's your breakout at around the 370 level, and a week and a half later, it's 8+. With a huge move today of 56% on just 1.8 million shares. Probably get a follow through tomorrow towards 9 3/4. There's a 9 1/2 3/4 will be a top. Be careful up there. CGC, my favorite stock in that group by far, and the biggest. Nice day today. 3 days in a row up after that big reversal bar off that low. Now we're testing resistance at about 53 1/4, and maybe we retest 56 1/2. At some point, though, if these continue, I think this is going to be a ramp up stock into the 70s and 80s. I kid you not. If Tilray can be 165 this evening, then this could easily be 60 or 70. CLF, yet another swing trade, beautiful base breakout, wedge broke. It's been ramping up ever since, and today was another gain of about 3.8% on 14.4 million. It's just starting to ramp, I think. If I'm looking at the angle of ascent, this is a 14 3/4, $15 stock going forward. CRC, broke out of a wedge and popped. If this gets up to 42 1/2, I'm looking at a 47 1/2 and maybe much higher than that stock longer term. It's a beautiful rising channel. It's had some big moves. If you look at the long term, it's a massive 1, 2, 3, 4, and wave 5 might just be beginning. This could be 1 and 2 of 5. If we get 3, 4, and 5, who knows where this goes? 60, 65, so it's very distinctly possible if it starts to ramp, especially if it gets to 48 3/4, 49. CRON, yet another marijuana stock. You can see the pop, pullback wedge form today popped out. Volume increased a mere 39.5 million today. That's it. Resistance at about 1340 in that zone. If we get through that, we're ramping into the mid-teens at least. Biotech champions oncology CSBR. He's already had a nice 1, 2, and 3 wave move. I look at this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave 1, 3 wave corrected wave 2, and this is wave 3. However, Since it's at resistance near the top of the channel and long-term lateral resistance, and at the top of the longer-term hit channel as well, I'm looking for a pullback consolidation. But if it ramps through here, it could run right to the mid-teens. CVSI, another biotech stock looking pretty damn good. Took out the prior high and closed above it today. I would not be shocked to see 7 3/4, even 9.5 reach in the next week if we can get some volume. 5.9 million, nothing to sneeze at today. Another biotech movement is Denali Therapeutics. As you can see, it's ramped up after testing twice the 1760-70 zone. It's popped right through 20. Multiple tops up here indicate the potential. About 22.5 free would be my next target. The leading biopharma stock in cannabis is GWPH, as far as I'm concerned. And looking at this overall structure, you can see that now that it's come up through resistance, and it basically this was multiple tops up here. It broke through it, it came back down to kind of in a falling wedge, held the trend line, and today it popped. And I like the pop taking that level out, but can it extend? If it does, we're going to look at 165 and 185. HYYDF. Now, another marijuana-related play. Breakout, retest, reverse, and take out. Watch this tomorrow. This is a bulletin board stock, so I'm a little skeptical, but 688 high, if taken out, could result in a move to 8 or 9. This could be a real quick, sharp spike up, but be careful. Now, when this reverses, when those kind of stocks reverse, especially a bulletin board, they can be nasty. Momo's got some Momo. It looks to me like a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder have formed, and it looks to me like it broke out today. This might be a swing trade, folks. The target's around 54 and 59 going forward, maybe more. But if you look at the longer term, real long term, tremendous potential for more upside. Little NBV, NBEV, New Age Beverages, exploded 2 days in a row, but today's volume of 51 million blows away anything it's ever done. And breaking through resistance and testing secondary before backing off. If we get any follow through tomorrow, an NBEV over at 303, look for 355.60 and 420. Minerva's the stock we've been swinging. I like the overall look of it. The pullback, we held the trend line. It ramped up to the top of the channel, pulled back, and today it popped yet again, 50 cents, almost 5%. It's not a heavily traded stock, but if it ramps, we can see 13 3/4, 14. NTR swing acting well. You can see it's right at key resistance. The double top that occurred in August at 58 and a half 3/4. Today reached 58.55, closing 58.41, up 57 cents, 1%. Not big. The volume was good. Looks like it's taken out offers. At this point, I'm looking for a move into the 60 and then 64 range. NVCR is powerful and accelerating. If it breaks up through, and I mean this is going to be important, keep an eye on 50. Through 50, you might see 55, 58. Invite is flying. After the breakout of the flag 3 days ago, it's just been ramping. It's gone from under 13 to over 18 in just 3 sessions. For me, it's near the top of the channel and may accelerate here even up to 2022. Be careful up there. That's going to be very overbought short term. Great chart. RADA, a swing trade that I gave you when it broke out and then flag, looks to me like it's about to go. The spike high in June was 315. Today it reached 320 and closed at 315. So we can get any follow through here. I'm looking for a quick move to about 390. We get through that, 4 3/4. Long term, it's a really good looking chart, isn't it? Massive 1, 2, 3, 4, and the big fifth wave could take it eventually to something like 7.5 3/4 or 8. STAA swing trade also ramping. It had a big reversal day yesterday, but no follow through as long as it maintains support at 47, 47.5. I'm good with it. Today it was 50 up 220 or 4.6%. We can get to 54, which is tomorrow's target. This could be 58.9. And here comes Tilray. Folks, it's about as incredible as it gets. We've seen these kind of stocks before. Let me take out some noise so you can see exactly what I'm looking at. Here's your parallel channel. It's a tight one for a big stock like that. And I indicated to you yesterday that if it reaches the top of that channel, it might well get to 165. Well, guess where it is after hours? 169.99, or yeah, right about 170. I have it to stop at 150 from here. I'm going to raise that stop and tell you guys that I don't want you to give this back. So for me, stop half under 164, stop the rest under 161. If it continues to ramp, great. So far, every stop we put in has not been taken out, so it continues to ramp. That's a good thing. All you gotta do is continue to raise your stops and stay in the trade, so to speak. Number one question is, that I get from my subscribers and my friends, how do I stay in a trade? By continuing to raise your stop, peel off a little as you go when it gets to a target zone. Right now, believe it or not, if it just goes to the top of the channel tomorrow morning or this evening, 174.5, believe it or not, is my next number. 174.5. If it blows off and explodes to 180.90 range, which is not out of the realm of possibilities, with big volume, I'd be a seller there. TRXC. Looking at the little pop today, it broke out. I really wanted to put a swing on it. I didn't, my bad. Because when it broke out, I gave you a day trade. It was right about there. It's already ramped about 20 cents since then. 625 this evening. Looking like it wants to really get going. I look at a parallel channel off of here. You could see the stock at 12 or 13 in the next couple, 3-4 weeks. This could double. This could be a real ramper. Stay tuned on that one. UIS, still acting like it wants to go higher. What a great chart. Broke out, pulled back, we gave you a buy. It's been running ever since. My target now is 21 and then 24. And that brings us to Viking. Hope everyone making a lot of money on this one. When this stock broke out there is where I first got involved. It then ran up to a target and pulled back. When it broke out again, I said this stock looks like a buy right about there. Then they gapped up and ran, and then it formed a coil for 3 months. The falling wedge ensued. Didn't look very good last week. Everybody knows that. But today, monster volume, 51.7 million shares. And yes, it went way off the high. At pre-market was 28.9 range. But at 1946, it was still up 907, 87%. What I always look for when I see a stock gap is whether or not it holds the session low around 18. If it doesn't, it may drift down towards 15.5. My opinion, if that occurs, and backs and fills in that area, it'd be a buy for a move up to, well, 25 and 28. Yelp with a big pop out of a massive wedge today and a big run up of 369 or 8% on 5.1 million tells me this stock looks like it wants to extend to 54 and 60. And finally, Zapgen, one of our swings, which broke out for a few days and then pulled back right to support, snapped right back today. That's a good sign. Up 65 cents for 6.7%. Line wasn't big. I need to see more of that. I'm going to be watching Zapgen through 11.25. Then you're on your way to 12.75 and 14.5. Those are my targets. Folks, that's it for tonight. Everyone have a good evening. Let's make some more money tomorrow. Good night, tech traders.